Hello and welcome back to Culz Book Reviews. Now this one's going to be not quite a book and still probably a bit of a mystery to you, but this is a 40-page pamphlet by the one and only Harry Houdini. Now I keep it like this because, it's from the 1920s and I definitely want to keep it in an environment where it's protected. So let's open this up and show you what pamphlet we're talking about. So yes, this is the exact pamphlet that Harry Houdini actually used in one of his most famous debunkings of a medium. Now Houdini was on the Scientific American panel, which was offering up a cash prize to any medium that could prove that they actually had the gift of necromancy, or talking to the dead. And one that got at least recommended to Houdini by this, committee was the Boston medium, Margery. Now, Margery isn't her real name. We'll get into that. But yeah, so this was a pamphlet, and it kind of really showed how Margery did all the tricks and kind of documented the whole experience that Houdini had. And then at the end, the last, 6-7 pages, it actually talks about the x-ray vision. Now, mine is not in the best condition. These are really hard to find. It's amazing because it says price $1. So it was only $1 to buy it back in the day. These now go for well over $100, even in this condition, and upwards of $900 to $1,000 in pristine condition. So definitely very careful. Mine's not connected, as you can see, some slight wear on the, or more than slight wear, I should say, on the side. As usual, we'll look over the cover as well as the back. It just says, Houdini exposes the tricks used by the Boston medium Margery to win the $2,500 prize offered by Scientific American. As previously stated, it does show price $1. Adams Press Publishers, 278 West 113th Street, New York City. And right here, copyright by Harry Houdini, New York, 1924. In the front is actually Harry Houdini showing how some of these tricks by Margery were conducted. Now we're going to flip it over to this back. It does have slight discoloration on mine, so it's a little pinkish in the middle. But again, it shows, Houdini in this box. And showing, what the box looked like. And then again, how they held on to the hands during these seances. And again, these seances weren't done in light. Not even kind of like complete darkness. People didn't think they were being tricked. And so Houdini would go in and try to help people show, hey, you're being tricked, don't get conned by these people. So there's actually 40 pages, the last page of which is just a drawing. So 39, I guess, total pages with writing. And a lot of cool little figures that Houdini put in to kind of show what was going on. And there's also going to be some pictures which we'll show you. But yeah, it shows you again. He tries to show you how these tricks are being done so you're not getting fooled. And then here's the case about the x-ray eyes. And just a picture of Mr. Wilkin as well as Houdini. Some really nice font. That part's pretty much just the ending, not too much dedicated to that. So let's go back to the beginning, to the portion that we're really, excited to take a look at. And that is the case of Margery, the medium that Harry Houdini help expose as a fraud. So this starts page 1, talks about Margery the medium, and it shows you a picture of the main committee. So we have Houdini right here. Behind we have J. Malcolm Bird. Right here, Mr. O.D. Munn, and right here is Margery herself. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of the backstory, Again, some nice font there. But the backstory really tells a little bit of how Margery was found and how some people, including Bird up here, was convinced Margery was the real deal. Again, we have some more of the Scientific American team. You can see Houdini right over here. And some more story dedicated to the whole Margery incident. I mean, there's a lot of writings. We actually see some writing here. And this is from Mr. J. Malcolm Bird, associate editor, who you'd actually find out later on that they didn't let into the investigations at one point. Now, as you keep going, much like at the back, it actually has figures to kind of show you how things were going on. Right here, Houdini actually figured out this one by cutting off the circulation of his leg. and making it so, like, sensitive. When Margery would actually, move her foot, again, this is in the complete darkness, he could actually feel her moving her foot. He also figured out, at one point the husband had left. The husband always sat at the left, right here. And so that's how she was able to get the cone up on her head and toss it at Houdini. Right here it's showing that again. And it also shows, and this is something that he was able to replicate, is this little stand-up behind. She would actually just, tip over using her foot. Something super easy. But again, it's in the complete darkness. You're not going to be able to see that. Some other stuff that Houdini was able to catch Miss Crandon. And Miss Crandon obviously is her name. She just went by the medium name Margery. But caught her on was this lifting table where she would simply just lift it using her head. But it was a time, I guess, people just didn't think people would go around tricking. And so here we start getting into the boxes. Shows like Houdini. A cabinet box was first night. The front was pushed out by the medium, it being held in place by 2 small brass strips only. And so this is again going to show you that picture from the front, where Houdini shows you exactly how she was able to get out. It's not actually locked down. And so, still was able to kind of do all the sorcery and all the magic. But once we get Houdini's box, it's amazing that, same stuff does not happen. Actually it was what is called a blank reading. Things didn't happen, but they did find a ruler where, using the ruler, Margery could actually still kind of do some stuff. Margery tried to claim this was Houdini's, but, when you get caught, you get caught. And again, this is going to show that the box Houdini actually strengthened and made sure, hey, no trickery is going to happen. And nothing did happen, proving once and for all, Margery, Miss Crandon, was a fraud. Speaking of that, there's some great stuff going back and forth between Miss Crandon and Houdini later towards the end of this, where she's talking, she would hate for her 12-year-old to read that she's a fraud, and then Houdini just replies kind of jokingly but serious and kind of straight to the point, well then don't be a fraud. And then there's also Miss Crandon was threatening, if he goes up there and misrepresents her, 4 of her friends are going to be in attendance and they will come up on stage and beat him up. There's also the talk of her husband trying to pay off Houdini, pay big money to not come out and say she was a fraud. And so again, some more diagrams, pretty cool. I definitely recommend this if you're interested in Houdini at all and want to see kind of like how the spiritualist movement kind of was hoaxing people pretty easily back in the day. This is definitely good. It helps you show, hey, it's very easy to hoax. But it shows you, always try to do your due diligence when dealing with like claims of the extraordinary. Make sure you're ruling out everything. We always want to take people by their word, but sometimes, especially when money is involved, could go the other way. And then it ends the Margery case with some different editorials. Sometimes, the people are not so, I should say, skeptical of Margery and more maybe on her side. And then other ones, Houdini includes ones that definitely show that they're on Houdini's side, and we're glad that someone, went to bat to help, people, especially back in the 1920s, right after World War I. Spiritualist movement became big again, and all these people were taking advantage of, people that lost loved ones, lost, brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, whatever during the wars, right after some flus, the 1918 Spanish flu. So people were really looking for comfort, and there was a host of people going around and hoaxing these people and really taking advantage and stealing their money. And Houdini, especially after his experience with Mrs. Doyle, who was, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's wife, and her reading, we'll say, where she said his mother was talking through her. And, it turned out no, because there's a lot of stuff on there where Houdini is like, well, she was Jewish, why did she draw a cross? or where she didn't know English, but she wrote perfect English. And this really upset Houdini, and then he saw where people could get taken advantage of, and so he actually made this kind of an act. At the end of his shows, when he would travel, he would show people, hey, this is how these people are doing it. You know, being the greatest magician possibly of all time, definitely of the time, you know, Houdini had the eye for how they did this, especially adding on, not only was he a magician, but an escape artist. Their tricks, maybe to us, we were fooled, but to him, he knew right away. Definitely a cool little pamphlet, something that we definitely recommend, and something we've used for our upcoming Harry Houdini documentary that we're doing specifically on this time of Houdini's life, with his kind of battle with the spiritualist movement in what some people would call almost a mafia-like run spiritualist movement. It was kind of dangerous to come out against some of these people because, you know, you're going against their livelihood. Houdini went out because he wanted to help people, and he definitely saw people being taken advantage of. So I definitely recommend this. I would rate it probably a 8.5, 9 out of 10. I think it drops a little bit towards the end because I didn't know too much about the story of the X-ray vision, but a lot of people know about the Boston medium Margery. There's a book written about it, and even to this day, there's some people that say she actually fooled Harry Houdini, which is kind of funny because even back in 1924, Houdini shows exactly how she was doing her stuff. So, give it a check out if you're interested in Houdini at all, if you're interested in how, you know, spiritualists were doing their craft back in the day, or, you know, if it's getting close to Halloween. Houdini did pass away on Halloween, and you just want to read something